So, welcome to today's Connections Over Coffee gathering with the On Purpose Woman Global Community. I am so glad to have spent time with the women who are here live for this gathering today. And to those of you who are now watching this on our YouTube channel. My name is Andrea Hyland. I'm the founder of The Incubator, an online co-working space for women creatives. And I am a longtime member, 19 years, of On Purpose Woman Global Community, and I'm in the role of host today for Jenny Robertson. And I would love to have you share the recording of our inspiring and insightful speaker today with others, because I know you're going to really enjoy this topic. So our speaker today is Vicki Semanie. The title is Emotional Intelligence and Communication: How Improving Your Emotional Intelligence Can Improve Your Communication. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Vicki. She has built an exceptional career and a meaningful life because of her ability to pragmatically achieve her goals regardless of the obstacles. As the former CFO for Johns Hopkins Home Care Group and St. Mary's Seminary and University, Vicki has a depth of experience understanding how plans, actions, and accountability lead to bottom line success. As a mentor, parent, and coach, Vicki has seen that if people are accountable to another person vested in their success, great progress and even transformation can occur. Vicki resides in Havre de Grace, Maryland. She is married to her husband, Mark, and has 4 children and 2 grandchildren. I also know she has a fur baby, even though that was not listed here, but I love watching those. I love seeing those pictures on Facebook. And Vicki loves hiking, cooking, reading, and spending time with her growing family. You can see her website in the show page description here, but it is sevenstoneslifecoaching.com. But it's clickable down below. So look at that. So just to bring you into the topic, and then I'll turn it over to Vicki, the way that she described this for the email that was sent out: emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, while also being aware of and responding effectively to the emotions of others. It includes skills such as self-awareness, empathy, impulse control, and optimism. These skills shape how we express ourselves, build relationships, handle stress, and make decisions. Communication is more than just words. It includes tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, and listening. Strong communication happens when messages are delivered clearly, respectfully, and with empathy, creating understanding and trust. And the two are closely connected. Emotional intelligence provides the foundation for effective communication. And I know she's going to go into this. So, Vicki, I am so happy to have you here, and I'm ready for my infusion of more information about emotional intelligence and some of the examples that you're going to use. So, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you, as Andrea said, about 2 skills that shape every part of our personal, professional lives: our emotional intelligence and our communication. Think about the last conversation you had that didn't go well. Maybe someone misunderstood you, or perhaps your words came out sharper than you intended. Chances are emotions, yours and theirs, played a big role. Today, we'll explore how emotional intelligence shapes communication, why mastering both is critical for building trust, leading effectively, and creating connection. So, by the end of our time together, I want you to walk away with 3 takeaways. The first is, what really is emotional intelligence? The second, what excellent communication looks like. And thirdly, how your emotional intelligence directly impacts your ability to communicate. So what is emotional intelligence? In their book, The EQ Edge, Stein and Book define emotional intelligence as a set of emotional and social skills that influence how we perceive and express ourselves, develop and maintain relationships, cope with challenges, and use emotional information effectively. So it's more than just how you feel. There are 5 areas, also called scales, of emotional intelligence. Each has 3 subscales. And I'm going to review those with you and give you a practical tip that you can use after today to increase your emotional intelligence. First, self-perception. So knowing your strengths, weaknesses, and emotions. Self-regard is respecting oneself, understanding, expecting your own strengths and weaknesses. It's often associated with feelings of inner strength and self-confidence. Self-actualization is the willingness to persistently try to improve yourself and engage in pursuits of personally relevant and meaning objectives to have a richer and more enjoyable life. Emotional self-awareness includes recognizing and understanding your own emotions, including the ability to differentiate between subtleties in emotion, but also understanding what's causing them and the impact they have on you and others. So a way to think about subtlety is you might feel a certain way and describe yourself as being angry, but if you were to drill down a little bit, you'd realize that there's more beneath that. It might be I'm irritated or I'm frustrated. So it's how you label that emotion. A practical tip here. When receiving feedback on your strengths and growth areas, take that in. Use the positive affirmation to build your self-regard and celebrate it. If you get constructive feedback, use that to improve yourself. All of these are opportunities to improve your self-regard. Next is self-expression. So this is more of the external, the opposite of your of what we just discussed. First is emotional expression, how you openly express your feelings verbally and non-verbally. Some people are very emotive, others have the poker face. Assertiveness is next, and it involves communicating your feelings, beliefs, and thoughts openly and defending personal rights and values in a socially acceptable, non-offensive, and non-destructive manner. Independence is the third subscale in this category. It's the ability to be self-directed and free from emotional dependency on others, and it impacts our decision-making, planning, and daily tasks, such that they're completed autonomously if you're independent. Practical tip here. Before expressing yourself or showing your emotion, whether that's verbally or non-verbally, jot down a few words about how you're feeling. That will bring clarity and helps keep your emotions appropriately in check while you're expressing them. Next, I'm going to talk about interpersonal. And this has to do with empathy, trust, and your ability to build good relationships. Interpersonal relationships specifically refer to your skill in developing and maintaining mutually satisfying relationships that are characterized by trust and compassion. Empathy is recognizing, understanding, and appreciating how other people feel. Articulating your understanding of how someone's feeling and behaving in a way that respects that other person's feelings. Social responsibility is your willingness to contribute to society, your social groups, and generally to the welfare of others. It involves acting responsibly, having social consciousness, and showing concerns for the greater community. In your work world, this might be your work group. So not just the greater community, but a small group that you work with. Practical tip here, don't be afraid to share your imperfections. Sometimes we bottle those in. We don't want people to see that we're not perfect, but vulnerability strengthens trust and helps interpersonal relationships. Decision making is the next category. So using emotions wisely when solving problems and managing impulses. So this is when you're having emotion, how well are you able to make decisions? So problem solving is the first thing. Finding solutions to problems and situations where emotions are involved, whether they're your emotions or someone else's. People with a low score here will have difficulty coming to a decision if they or others have high emotions. They'll let those emotions get in the way. Reality testing is the second subscale here. And it's the capacity to remain objective by seeing things as they really are. We all know the term rose-colored glasses, right? If you are a person who sometimes sees things through rose-colored glasses, it's best to understand the reality of the situation, perhaps by talking to a trusted advisor, getting their feedback. Finally, in this area is impulse control. So when you're feeling emotions, what is your ability to resist or delay an impulse? We often see this or might feel it. You get an email and it makes you a little angry, or they're not telling the story straight, and you let the emotions drive that email rather than pausing and reflecting. Stress management is the last category here. So staying flexible, resilient, and optimistic under pressure. Flexibility is your ability of adapting your emotions, thoughts, and behaviors to unfamiliar or unpredictable dynamic circumstances. We've all been in these situations, and your ability to kind of rise above the circumstances and be flexible is usually the key to the success here. Second is stress tolerance. Being able to cope with a stressful or difficult situation, but believing that you're going to be able to manage through it and get out with a positive outcome. So you're having confidence even though you're feeling stress. Finally, last is optimism as it relates to stress management, your positive attitude, your outlook on life, remaining hopeful and resilient despite your circumstances. So a practical tip here is journaling. If you don't do it, gratitude journaling. By writing down 3 things on a daily basis, it fuels your optimism and your resilience and makes that kind of that muscle work when you need it to. So very quickly, that was an overview of emotional intelligence. Practically speaking, you measure your emotional intelligence by taking a 133 question self-assessment. It takes about 20 minutes. And this is the EQI 2.0 assessment. Your score is determined against a statistically valid group or norm. And there are no good or bad results. It's really about keeping these things in balance. And the good news about emotional intelligence is that it isn't fixed, that you can do things learning to learn and practice your emotional intelligence in the areas that you want to. And that means that you'll be able to improve your communication. So I'm going to move on to what is excellent communication and why do I think they're related? Are you still able to hear me? Okay, good. Research highlights that excellent communicators convey their message clearly and concisely, making it easy for their audience to understand. So clarity is one of the first foundations of good communication. And it requires you to choose your words in a way that the audience can grasp them and using relevant examples. So as one guideline suggests, say what you mean, be direct, don't hide behind complexity or pile on unnecessary information. Not only will your audience understand what you're saying, but it also avoids creating the impression of a hidden agenda. Another vital quality of good communication is empathy. And this is one of our emotional intelligence subscales. So your ability to put yourself in your audience's shoes. Empathy allows communicators to connect on a deeper level by understanding and acknowledging someone else's perspectives, the person that you're communicating with. You can tailor your message to resonate more effectively, which helps you build trust and rapport. Active listening, we talked about this just a little bit ago. It's also a hallmark of excellent communication. And studies say that when you listen well, you gain a clear understanding of another person's perspective and knowledge. Yet active listening is hard. It requires discipline, resisting the urge to mentally prepare a response while others are still speaking or rushing a discussion forward. Confidence is the next thing related to effective and excellent communication. Research indicates that confidence reassures your audience, lending yourself credibility to your message, and helps in managing and leading discussions. Preparation builds confidence. Know your material thoroughly. Acknowledge when you don't have an answer and invite contributions from others. The last thing that I want to talk about as it relates to excellent communication is nonverbal communication. So how you sit, your facial expressions communicate how you're feeling. So now let's connect the dots. How does each of these relate to communication with emotional intelligence? So lower self-regard or lower confidence can inhibit a person from participating in meetings. So you're not communicating, you're not giving your opinion. You might fear you're asking the wrong questions, you'll have a factual error. The ability to recognize your strengths allows you to step into a conversation. Assertiveness. Assertiveness can help us, but it can also sometimes hinder us. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. If you have a healthy level of assertiveness, you won't have a problem participating in conversations. If you're too assertive, that can come across sometimes as being bullying, cutting people off, not listening actively. So that's how assertiveness can play into communication. Emotional self-awareness. If you're not recognizing your feelings because you're low on emotional self-awareness, you might not modulate them when you're speaking, when you're communicating. So your message may not land the way you intend, making it difficult to make your point. Interpersonal relationships. Your ability to have trusting relationships aids in gaining support for what you're communicating. So if you are high in the ability to establish good interpersonal relationships and you're in a room with people, then you've already gained their trust in what you're communicating. When we talk about empathy, a lower score on empathy will definitely impact your ability to effectively communicate. You won't necessarily modulate your words or deliver your message in a way that will be received well by others because you haven't thought about how they might receive that message. Impulse control. We talked a little bit about this just a minute ago. So your ability to control your impulses can have a major impact on how you communicate. You might have the urge to respond verbally or in an email in a hasty way. That can cause knee-jerk reactions. You might come across as angry, annoyed, or blaming, which means that the person receiving your message isn't going to receive it well. In a meeting, low impulse control could show up by someone interrupting others. So this need to be heard comes out by interrupting the other people and therefore can shut down the conversation. Optimism has a direct impact on communication. We've all been in meetings where a person was very optimistic and it kind of opened us up to hearing what they have to say versus someone who was really negative. It kind of brings the group, deflates the feeling in the room. Someone who's less optimistic can come across as a doomsayer and will not increase the confidence in what they're saying through their communication. Someone who's optimistic will convey that optimism through their words and actions and may actually transfer their optimism to others. So when you're in a situation where you want to have a call to action of people joining you in an opinion or a project, the more optimistic you are, the more likely they are that they'll feel that optimism and want to join you. So we can see how parts of emotional intelligence can contribute or take away from our ability to be an effective communicator. And the reason this is important is because we all communicate. If you own a business, you're communicating with clients, you're communicating with employees. If you're a leader, your words and actions are causing people to follow you to do what you think is best. So it's in your best interest to understand your emotional intelligence and see how it helps you. So I'm going to circle back. Emotional intelligence is the way you recognize, understand, and manage your emotions, not just in the way you feel, but in the way you portray and interact with others. Excellent communicators have clarity in what they say, they have empathy, they're active listeners, and they show up confidently. Emotional intelligence shapes how we communicate, helping us connect more effectively. So when you think about your own communication, what emotional intelligence area might you strengthen to improve your connections and your communication? So I'll leave you with this suggestion. This week, pick one of the EI behaviors and think about practicing it. So if there's an area that resonated with you that you think you could improve your emotional intelligence, when listening, for example, pause before responding. Maybe you'll have a 50-minute check-in with people you are collaborating with to build that interpersonal relationship. Think about rephrasing what you're saying with I statements. That will resonate well with people that you're communicating with. All these small improvements add up to more balanced and effective emotional intelligence and better communication. So I want to close with, when we improve our emotional intelligence, we don't just communicate better, we connect better. And connection is what truly matters and moves people, teams, and organizations forward. And I appreciate your time and attention today, and I hope that you got a lot out of this conversation.
Thank you, Vicki. That was great. There was so much information. I'm definitely going to listen to it again and take some notes, and just to continue to improve communication, because the way that you said it around connection,
Yeah,
like connection, that's why we're here. So
that's right.
um, thank you so much. Let's all send some love to Vicki, our speaker. It could, yeah,
Thank
have some
you.
silent waving of hands and woo. So thank you. And thank you for everyone for being at the meeting today. Thank you, Vicki, so much for this conversation, for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today and giving us some real food for thought on how to continue to improve. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And then to everyone who's listening, thank you for being part of this vibrant, supportive, and purpose-filled community. If you'd like to learn more about how to get involved in our Zoom or in-person gatherings or explore On Purpose Woman magazine, just head over to the website. The link is in the show page, but just to put it on camera here, opwgc.com. And we'd love to connect with you again soon. And until next time, stay connected, be yourself, and live on purpose. So, thank you so much. And I'm going to stop this recording if I can find the button. Here we go. All right. Thanks everyone for being here.